By what name are you known?
There are some who call me Tim.
Welcome to another episode of Timmy Talks, the channel where we talk old school magic. And welcome back to the Hill Giant Cup, the old school Magic the Gathering tournament held in Hilversum, the Netherlands. We are here now at the semi-finals, so the final four. The winner of this match will advance to the finals of the Hill Giant Cup. So exciting. We've got two very strong decks playing against each other. We have Ron sitting on the left. He's playing a beautiful Reanimator list. He's taking on Anis. We've seen him on the channel before in this tournament. He's playing blue-white control. Now, before I start with the deck techs of both of these decks, I've got lovely deck photos. I would first like to point out that, as always, I have added timestamps in the description of this video. So if you want to go straight to the match, for example, I know some people enjoy going to the match first. Check out the deck text afterwards. Please check out the description below. There you will find a timestamp that says MtG Games. Click on there and it'll take you straight to the game action. And here I'm going to continue with the deck text. I'm going to start with the deck of the player on the left, Ron. Let's take a look at his Reanimator list. And here we see the Reanimator deck of Ron. Now, these decks have really been gaining popularity. I mean, they've been getting top finishes, including at this tournament 2 years ago. Anna won the Often Troll Cup with his Reanimator deck. So these decks are doing really well. The thing is, you have to have the right collection to build this. I mean, look at the beautiful cards here and maybe focus first on the two key cards in a Reanimator deck. So the first key card here is Bazaar of Baghdad, and Ron is of course playing a full playset. This land from Arabian Nights, you can tap it to draw 2 cards, and then you immediately have to discard 3 cards. So what you want to do in Reanimator is you want to put all your big creatures in your graveyard as fast as you can. And when we look at the list, we see a lot of big creatures, right? 4 Mahamotis, 4 Trikes, 4 Shivans, a single Solkanar the Swamp King. So you want to get all those creatures into your graveyard and then reanimate them. So there are 4 enemy deads in here, but an even cooler way of reanimating them is by using All Hallows Eve. And All Hallows Eve, it's just this weird card because it's got scream counters. Let me just read it to you. So it's 2 black and 2 to cast for the sorcery from Legends that reads, exile All Hallows Eve with 2 scream counters on it. So you play it, it's exiled immediately. At the beginning of your upkeep, if All Hallows Eve is exiled with a counter on it, remove a counter. If there are no more scream counters on it, put it into your graveyard, and each player returns all creature cards from their graveyard to the battlefield. So all the cards that you've discarded with Bazaar of Baghdad now come back into play. So that's basically how the deck works. And then around the deck, you put all the usual suspects, right? All those restricted cards like Balance, like Regrove, like Wheel of Fortune. Wheel of Fortune also a great card because, again, you discard your entire hand, draw 7 new ones. Probably there will be some big creatures in your graveyard, and then you can cast your All Hallows Eve if you found that with your new hand, of course. Or maybe just an enemy dead. But hey, an enemy dead on a Shivan or a Mahamoti is also fantastic value, of course. And then we see also the Moxen, the Power 9. So it's really kind of that Reanimator shell, and then around that you have, of course, the power cards and the restricted cards to make the deck work even better. And of course, I'm going to say it again, I think I said it in another video lately as well, that Time Walk, in my opinion, is really good in these type of decks because you're playing so creature heavy, and having that second combat can be decisive for a win in a lot of cases. Okay, this is the deck here of Ron. Now let's take a look at the deck of his opponent, Anis. And here we see the deck of Anis, so blue-white control. It's kind of like a line dip deck, but then without the Surrender Befriets. He has chosen to go for Suchis instead of the Surrender. Now, the Suchi has a few things going for it when you compare it to the Surrender Befriet. Surrender Befriet, of course, dies the city in a bottle, doesn't like Maze of If. But then again, it is a mana cheaper. Suchi is 4. Suchi, of course, has a power more. It's a 4/4, but also Suchi doesn't have flying. And Suchi is an artifact, meaning you can also get rid of it with artifact removal. So it's kind of vulnerable. But then again, it doesn't hurt you. So there are some reasons to go with Suchi over Serendip and reasons to go for Serendip over Suchi. It's really a meta call. You kind of think, okay, I'm going to this tournament. What kind of decks can I expect? For example, am I going to see a lot of mazes? Am I going to see a lot of City in the Bottles? Then you could consider playing Suchi's main. We also see a Suchi in the sideboard, by the way. Then when we look at the rest of the creature base, of course, we see the beautiful Sarah Angel, arguably the best creature in Old School Magic. So we see 3 of those. We also see 4 Ravenna Lions, and then we see 4 Mishra's Factories as well. So Mishra's Factory, of course, a land, but you can turn it into a 2/2 creature. And the factory works so well in a deck like this because this is really a control deck. We see 2 Jam Day Tomes to draw cards. We see 5 counter spells, mana drain, 4 counter spells. We see all those white control cards, right, that can deal with problems. Disenchants. We see a Divine Offering. We see Swords to Plowshares. We see Balance. We also see Psionic Blasts. Of course, we see the power cards, Ancestral Recall, Time Walk. We don't see a Time Twister. I don't think you need it in this deck. We do see a Recall. A Recall is always good when you play with these power cards because you can get those cards back and play them out again. I mean, that always kind of feels like cheating, doesn't it? But yeah, Recall is really good in a list like this. Okay, so the deck of Anis, it's looking really strong. We've already looked at the deck of his opponent today, Ron. That means we are ready. Let's go to the semifinals of the Hill Giant Cup. Game number 1. Here we go. Ron on the play, sitting on the left with his Reanimator deck. Look at that. Volcanic, Mox Jet, Time Walk, taking an extra turn. This is what you want to do in life. What an opener here for Ron. And he's playing against Anis, who's playing blue-white control. There's a Mind Twist turn 2. Oh, man. So Anis hasn't had a single chance to cast anything yet, and he already has to discard 2 cards to a Mind Twist. Look at that, losing a Time Walk there. That is unfortunate. And now it's finally his turn, starting here with a Soul Ring into a Chaos Orb. That's pretty good. He is tapped out at the moment, so there could be an opening here for Ron to get rid of the artifact. Does not pass his turn here. Let's see what Anis can do, perhaps playing another land, and he will have 4 mana to cast, for example, a Suchi, playing 3 in his deck. Ravenna Lion could be an option as well, now that he has the City of Brass. Tapping the city, it seems. Going to take a damage then from the city. Untapping, tapping again. Okay, let's see what he's going to do here. So he's got 3 mana floating at the moment. Probably going to make white. Yeah, there's a disenchant here on the Mox Jet, and then he's going to flip probably, yeah, on a land, on one of the duels here of Ron. And he's going to go to the graveyard, and there's a pass. So kind of attacking the mana base here of Ron, trying to slow him down. I think if you're Ron, what you really want to have here is a Bazaar of Baghdad to start putting bigger creatures into your graveyard to maybe play an Animate Debt on them later in the game, or of course cast an All Hallows Eve. So Ron really in the tank here, trying to figure out what to do. So he's got 2 lands, a Volcanic Island and a City of Brass. It's hard to see how many cards he's got in hand at the moment. He's going to look at his cards again. It looks like he's got about 5 cards in hand, and there he passes the turn, so misses a land drop here. So perhaps attacking the mana base here was a good decision. Anis also passing though, and now he's finding a land from the top of his deck. There's some glare on it, but it is a duel. Cannot really identify what type of duel. There's the Ravenna Lions on the side of Anis here, hitting the board. 2/1 creature vanilla. Actually the only playable vanilla creature in Old School. Although I think there are some other good, vanilla creatures, like for example Earth Elemental. But definitely, Ravenna Lions is the one that sees most play. And it's actually quite popular in the more competitive decks, like the blue-white decks that Anis is playing at the moment. And Anis also just passing the turn, so both players kind of stuck. Of course, Anis is able to deal some damage with the line, putting Ron now on 18. And Ron here taking his turn, tapping, untapping again. Looking at his hand here, so I don't think he's found a land, or else he would have played that already. So he's still kind of stuck on 3 land, but in his deck that gives him some options. Just passing the turn though. There's an untap, there's another attack for 2. So Ron dropping to 16. There's a Mahamoti in his hand. Let's kind of pick in his hand. I see a balance. Yeah, playing out the balance to take care of the line. It also means he's gonna lose a land though. And it may sound, well, it doesn't sound weird, but what Ron, of course, hopes to do with the balance is force him to discard cards as well, because he's playing the Reanimator deck. He wants to put his Mahamoti Jin that he just drew into the graveyard. There's a Psionic Blast here, dealing 4 points of damage here to Ron, also 2 points of damage, of course, to Anis. So Ron is now on 12, Anis is on 16. And of course Anis losing that Savannah lines to the balance. It looks like Anis has to discard or not. He has 4 cards in hand. Also 4 cards for Ron, and Ron has to put a land away. Oh, he's got 5 cards, 6 even. So this is an interesting decision. Playing out this Psy Blast by Anis here, in my opinion, is a mistake. Because now you're allowing Ron to discard. And I believe he discarded the Shivan Dragon, so he had 5 in hand. If he wouldn't have discarded anything, he could have kept the Psy Blast in hand. And now he's put a Reanimator target there, an enemy dead target in the graveyard of Ron. So I'm not sure if Anis thought about that Psionic Blast before he played it. Again, when you're sitting here, it's easy to make these comments, of course, because your gut instinct says, hey, I don't want to discard a card, why not just play it out instead of discard it? Or, well, actually the other way here, by playing out your Psionic Blast, you're forcing Ron to discard a card, so that under normal circumstances is great, but against a Reanimator it's bad. And here we see Ron actually discarding another card, so it looked like he had to put another one away. Also a Trike here in the bin. So there's now a Shivan and a Trike in the bin. Those are 2 excellent targets for Ron to reanimate. And just a pass by Anis here. I mean, the good news for Anis here is that Ron doesn't have enough mana to play an All Hallows Eve, but are we going to see him animate? Okay, we're going to see a regrowth. So he's going to take a damage. It looks like he's going to regrowth one of his lands, a duel, and play it out immediately. I believe he's also got an All Hallows Eve in hand. So playing out a Volcanic Island. Does need to take a damage for the City of Brass though, so he should be on 11. There's a Felwar Stone. So the Felwar Stone can make now any color of mana because the opponent of Anis, Ron, here has a City of Brass. That's always really nice synergy. The Felwar Stone really shines in a format like Old School because there's so many City of Brasses here. Tapping 4, taking a damage, and there's the All Hallows Eve. So it comes into play with 2 screen counters on it. It exiles itself immediately, and then during the upkeep you take a counter off. When it no longer has any counters, all creatures in all graveyards return to play. And this is really good for Ron, because he's going to get that Trike, and he's going to get a Shivan Dragon. So this is a really nice Sarah Angel. But yeah, it probably will only swing in once, because then the Shivan Dragon will enter the battlefield. And Dormant Script, of course, is a great card against the Reanimator decks, but I don't think that people run it in their sideboards, because you don't see Reanimator that often. But like I said in the deck, the deck is becoming more popular, so maybe it's worth a consideration for us mages to start playing Dormant Script again in our sideboards. Anyway, there's an untap here for Anis, so he can at least swing in with the Angel. Ooh, he also has a balance there, so that's interesting. Because there's a pretty big chance that when Ron has that Shivan, he's going to start attacking with it. Then Anis can chump block with the Angel and play a balance later, wipe the board again. Of course, he's going to attack first for 4, putting Ron here on 7, so Ron's quite low. Anis is going to go through the hand again. What can he do? He's got a lot of options. Looks like he's got perhaps another Sarah there. So I see a balance. Maybe behind, is there another Sarah Angel? Well, if there is, he probably would play it out. Or not, because he has that balance. So now the Shivan Dragon comes back, and the Triskelion comes back, and of course the Savannah lines on the side of Anis. So 3 counters here on the Trike, and then drawing a card for turn. A Shivan Dragon. If he can find one more land, he can start casting those Shivans and Mahamotis. He can hard cast them, which is also pretty scary. So we see 2 Mahamotis, we see a Shivan Dragon, and there's a black bordered card that I cannot identify in the hand of Ron. So 4 cards for him. More cards here for Anis. Tapping 3. Oh, that other black bordered card was a Time Twister, and this is unfortunate. Or can he counter this? Okay, there's a Swords. That's actually not too bad. I said unfortunate because Anis is now going to lose the balance in hand that he probably had plans with. And we see that Swords in response. Ron's going to pump it once, so he gains 6 more life. He's going to go up to 13, I believe. Exactly. He's going to go up to 13. We also see a Disenchant here on the Trike. Does mean 1 point of damage here for Anis. And of course, we see Ron here killing the lion. So taking 2 damage from the trike, going to go to 13, and taking a damage from the city, so he would go to 12. Ooh, it looks like he's going to put a damage on the angel as well. And is he killing the angel here? It's quite unclear to me why the angel is leaving the battlefield. And there is the angel being put back. Yeah, for a moment there I thought, was it destroyed somehow? For example, you know, Ron put a point of damage on it. Maybe he played a lightning bolt, but did it really quickly and then shuffled it back into his deck that we couldn't see it. But no, that's not the case. It was just a mistake by Anis, so he put it back on the battlefield. Now remember, there is a damage marked on there. So if Ron can find a bolt, he can kill the angel. So I think it's a good decision by Ron to put a point of damage on here. Because, I mean, whether Anis is on 13 or 12 at this point in the game doesn't really matter that much. Looking at the life totals, by the way, both players have 13 life. And they're also going to have 7 new cards. I believe Ron didn't have a land drop yet. So if he can find a time walk and a land, you know, he can have an extra turn. That would be really good for him. Bazaar of Baghdad, of course, would be great because you want to fill that graveyard again with big creatures. Then again, if he can find a land drop, he's got 6 lands and he can start casting 6 mana probably. And he can start casting Mammoth, Jinn, Shivan, Dragons, Trikes. So it's really dangerous. And if you're Anis, you know this, of course. You think like, uh-oh, as soon as he's got 6 lands, I can't like accept a big fatty every single turn. Of course, Anis is also reshuffling all his answers back into his deck, all the swords, all the counter spells. You know, everything is going to go back in the deck. So that's really good for him as well. And he's got that Sarah Angel still. Unfortunately for Anis, he only has 1 blue open, so cannot counter. Looks like Ron's going to do something here with his hand tapping, so he does take a damage from the city. Dropping here to 12. And like I said, I don't think he had a land drop yet, so let's see if he's going to play out a land. We see a Savannah Lines in hand there for Anis. We see a Suchi as well, so he can put some pressure on next turn. I don't believe I see a Sarah. Anis playing 3 Sarah Angels in the main 60. And what's Ron going to do? Playing a strip mine here on the City of Brass. That's kind of good because it means that Anis no longer has double white. So even if he has a Sarah, he cannot play it out at the moment. Of course, there is a pretty big chance that he's got the planes there in those 8 cards. But first, let's see what he can do. There's a Mox Sapphire. There's his Savannah Lines. And there's that Suchi we talked about. So that's some pressure on the board. And there is a Factory, so some more pressure. So next turn he can potentially swing in for 8. But I'm pretty sure Ron has some tricks up his sleeve as well. It looks like he just drew into the Mind Twist. He could cast it. I mean, there's no counter mana up. He could go for a big Mind Twist, but then he, of course, takes 8 damage next turn. There's a Soul Ring. Let's see what he can do. He's going to tap 5. Gonna play Solkanar, the Swamp King. Oh, it's so cool to see Solkanar here. Oh, and there's a Time Walk. Oh, this is so bad for Anis because of this Time Walk, it means he untaps everything, right? And then he can play a really huge Mind Twist. I mean, this Time Walk is so good. If it was the Mind Twist, maybe I was mistaken, but I do think I recognize the altar there of Ron's Mind Twist. Let's see what he can do. He's gonna tap 5. Yeah, there's the Mind Twist. Taking care of the entire hand of Anis. So he did have the Sarah Angel, also losing here a Swords, which would be a great answer to the Solkanar, the Swamp King. And of course the Swords is great against a Reanimator deck because it removes the creature from the game. Just like that one Shivan Dragon you see there in the corner. And yeah, this is really bad for Anis. It looks like the game just took a turn here with that Mind Twist. So the Solkanar is a 5/5 with Swamp Walk. So right now, if he attacks, it wouldn't be the greatest, unless of course he's got like a removal spell in hand. Because probably Anis will double block it. He could block it on the Factory and the Suchi, for example, and he would only lose one of those two creatures, and Ron would lose the Solkanar. Oh, this is much, much better. The Triskelion makes all the difference, actually. So there's now that 4/4 Trike on the board. And remember, those counters, you can take it off, and you can deal 1 damage to any target. Look at that here. Anis taking the damage, dropping to 8, a hit of 5. And Solkanar is doing business here in the semifinals of the Hill Giant Cup. 1 card in hand for Ron as well. But it's looking really good for him. He's on 11, Anis is on 8. There's the pass turn. Let's see what these players can do. Can Anis find a way out of this? There's a time walk. So 1 mana floating still. So one of the things he could do, now just take an extra turn straight away. I was thinking maybe he can find a way to attack and then untap, which is not ideal because of that 1 Trike, but you know, I wonder. Could have perhaps attacked with the Suchi and put Ron kind of in a difficult position. Do you want to trade Suchi for Trike? I don't think you do. And then you would have an extra attack and you would at least deal him 4 damage. Or you would have traded, and then when he would have attacked with the Solkanar, you can double block online and Factory. Attacking here now in his extra turn with the Suchi. Interesting. And again, it's really easy from my position, commenting position, looking back at a match, explaining how I would do it instead of sitting there live in the semifinals. I can tell you it's pretty nerve-wracking after a whole day of old school Magic, playing that top 8, moving on to the semis when you're so close to the finals. You are quite nervous. And remember, you've probably also been drinking something as well that day. You know, it's just a long day, and then to still play Magic at such a high level can be quite difficult and daunting. So he's going to kill the lion, I believe. Yeah, and put 2 points of damage on the life total. So he's going to lose the Trike, so that's 6 life left. There's a pass turn. So 6 life left for Anis. I would love to kind of know now what's in the hand of Anis. I see an island, but what's that other card? If that's a swords, then he's in kind of a good position. If not, it's going to be difficult. Ooh, animate! That animate makes all the difference. Oh, that is tricky. So he's going to animate now the Factory. Anis is doing that. He's going to make it into a Factory worker. And then, of course, Anis can respond to that by killing it. Or sorry, Ron can respond to that by killing the worker, dealing the damage. And Ron, you're still taking a point of life because of the animate dead, because Solkanar gives you a life every time a black spell is being cast. But anyway, let's take a look here. There's the chump. It's looking really bad for Anis here in game number 1. Now remember, this is just game number 1 though. So it's not the end yet for Anis. But I mean, in this game, it's looking quite bad for him. He's now on 11. There's a Mamoti Jin, and Anis is saying, you know, I'm going to pack it up. You've got this one. Oh, man. What an exciting first game. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for this. It's really, really nice. Now they're going to dive into their sideboards, and we're going to catch back up with them in game number 2. Game number 2, here we go. Look at that. Anis taking a mulligan, so he's starting with 6 on the play, of course, after losing that first game. Passing the turn to Ron. Let's see what he can do. I see a Mox Jet there in hand. I see a Soul Ring. Ooh, this could be a tasty opening here for Ron. Look at that. Also animate dead in hand to Trike, just a pass though. But I mean, that's a nice thing about the Reanimator deck. If you just get to 6 mana really quickly, that's also fine. You can start playing out your big creatures. There's a Mox Pearl. It looks like he wanted to animate the Factory here. Changed his mind though, passing the turn. I think that's a good decision. You don't want to lose your Factory so early. That's a huge disadvantage if you do. So I wouldn't take the risk for just 2 points of damage. There's another land here played by Ron, so he's got 5, passing the turn. So almost at that magical 6. There's a Suchi. And the thing is, I think if you're Anis, you also know that. You know that, uh-oh, he's almost at 6. That means Shivan Dragon time, Mahamoti time, Triskelion time. You don't want to see that time happening when you're the opponent. And remember, he's also a game down. Ooh, but look at that. Cannot find a land, though. Cannot find a mana source. So 4 damage here. And we see Ron here actually struggling a bit with the dice, but he's on 16. There's the pass. And I mean, this is good news for Anis that Ron's stuck here with 5 lands. Well, 5 mana sources, I should say. He only has 2 lands. There's a time walk. So let's see. Digging for mana sources. Cannot find it though, it seems. So despite having that Soul Ring and Mox Jet in the opener, because he cannot find land, he cannot go to 6. So he cannot start casting those bigger creatures. Look at this. Anis here slamming an angel on the board. Ron already on 12. Quick answer though. Terror from the sideboard. That card, of course, is great against the Lions and against the Angels. Not so great against the Suchi, because it cannot destroy artifact creatures. So here again we see a slight advantage to choose Suchi over the Serendip. And there's a pass. And there's another attack. I mean, he's going to drop to 8 here. And Ron needs more lands. That's a problem. There's his Shivan, but he cannot cast it. I mean, with that opener, I expected him to really get to 6 mana quite quickly and kind of maybe overwhelm Anis with all those big creatures. But that just doesn't happen because he cannot find a mana source. Discarding the Shivan here, passing the turn. Now, perhaps there's an Animate in hand for Ron. That could kind of save him here. He's already on 4. Can he find an animate the Shivan? That would be kind of great. He would have a blocker for the Suchi. Going through his hand. I mean, the fact that he hasn't played out the Animate Dead yet perhaps means that he doesn't have it. Or does he have other options? Stepping 3 here, including a black. Is he going to cast an Animate Dead on the Shivan Dragon? Now remember, Anis is also playing with Psionic Blasts in his deck. There's a Demonic Tutor. Oh, man. This is exciting stuff. Is he going to look up an Animate Dead? I mean, he's got black open still. He's got 1 mana floating. I mean, he's thinking about Ancestral Recall, but that would be a pretty big risk, because then if you don't hit any removal, you're toast. Diamond Valley there as well. I mean, it could also be that he already has an Animate Dead in hand, right? Yeah, then I think he already has Animate Dead in hand. So he's going to go for Diamond Valley as his land drop. Then he's probably going to play Animate Dead on his Shivan. And then even if Anis is able to remove, for example, by disenchanting the Animate Dead, so removing the Shivan from the game again, killing it, he can eat it with the Diamond Valley and gain life. So if he has an Animate in hand, then I completely understand this play to go for the Diamond Valley. So there we see the Diamond Valley. 1 mana floating still. Yeah, tapping the black. We're going to see Animate. Animate Dead on the Shivan. Yeah, this is well played. And I think it's good that he kind of went for the Diamond Valley, because that can net him so much life and really get him back into the game. So this is interesting, playing a Swords here immediately. So he's going to eat it, right? He's going to gain 5. And the important thing about Diamond Valley as well is that the creature is now not removed. It's not exiled. Instead, it's going to go to the graveyard so he can reanimate it again. There's the attack for 4. I think, by the way, at this stage in the game, I would also attack with the Factory Worker. I would take that risk. Because, I mean, there is pretty much a difference again between him being on 5 or being on 3. If he's on 3, at 1 hit of a Suchi is enough. And also if he's on 3, he's in Psionic Blast range. So, yes, of course, when you animate your Factory, there's that risk that he plays a bolt on it or whatever. But at this stage in the game, I would have attacked with it. Also because Anis seems to have plenty of mana anyway. And that 2 points of damage can be quite crucial, whether he's on 5 or on 4. I guess 4 is really that crucial point, isn't it? Because then you have your Psionic Blast, you have an attack for a 4-power creature. He's just in a way closer range. Anyway, Ron's still on 5, taking his turn here, tapping 3 it seems. Or 4 actually, there's an All Hallows Eve. Now the question is, will we get that far? Because All Hallows Eve takes 2 turns before you get those creatures back. There's the attack. I mean, I hope he's going to animate, right? Exactly, for a moment there I thought, are you not going to animate? Attacking or winning? Exactly, there was no answer for Ron for the factory. So winning here, Anis winning game number 2. That means it's 1-1, and we're going to go to game number 3. Game number 3, the big decider. Who's going to advance to the finals? Ron here on the play, but look at that. He's got to put 2 cards on the bottom, so he took a double mulligan here. Does it mean he's got to start with 5 in hand and he's on the play? That is really unfortunate for Ron. Normally, if you're on the play in the third and final game, is an advantage. But right now, it's a disadvantage. Taking a double mulligan, 4 cards in hand. Okay, Ancestral Recall. That kind of solves it. It doesn't fully solve it, but at least you go 2 cards back up again. So that is really good for Ron, at least. Giving him a fighting chance. And now Anis taking the turn. There's a Tundra into a Savannah Lions. Classic opening. A good opener for him. It's always nice, you know, because if Ron has removal, he uses it on a line, which is not too bad. If he doesn't, he's going to take some damage. Also good. So it's kind of this win-win scenario for Anis. There's another city. Are we going to see a bolt here on the line? There's a bolt. So he is going to take a damage from the bolt, though. He's going to drop to 18 or shoot. Drop to 18. Exactly, there he goes. Tapping the planes here. There we see some food coming in. So, so they were playing this at the end of the day, right? So they were pretty hungry. Gonna play a Soul Ring. This is what we call in the Netherlands a broodje kroket. It's very, very Dutch. We see Ron putting some mustard on his. Now remember, these decks are triple sleeved. Let's take a look. Obviously, if the players will go and eat, I will skip that section. Oh, this is really a Dutch delicacy that you see here. This is a frikandel speciaal. If you're ever in the Netherlands, go to a snack bar and order a frikandel speciaal. I like it with curry. Some people prefer ketchup. I mean, gotta give you a little alert. It's not the healthiest food. Oh, here we see a Bazaar of Baghdad. So finally a Bazaar of Baghdad hitting the board. So a card from Arabian Nights, right? This is really a key card in the deck of Ron. Ooh, also playing a Lotus. All Hallows Eve. Oh, this could be very explosive for Ron here. I'm trying not to get distracted by the Frikandel Specials here, but this could be super explosive because what he can do now is use Bazaar of Baghdad. Remember, you draw 2 cards, then discard 3 cards, put really big creatures in your graveyard, and you know, they will get reanimated because of All Hallows Eve. So this is really, really bad news for Anis, and Anis here playing out a Suchi and starting to attack that Frikandel. Yeah, this is, I kind of want to fast forward here. But then again, I don't want to miss anything of this match. Anyway, drawing 2, putting a Shivan and a Mahamoti in the bin. Wow. And he can choose a 3rd card as well. This is insane. I mean, this could be the victory for Ron here. This completely bunkers All Hallows Eve. What is he going to discard? Okay, there's a Terror. So he's going to take a counter off. So next turn, the All Hallows Eve will happen, you know, because all the counters are taken off in the upkeep. The last one, that is. And he's got 1 more Bazaar activation. Can he find even more big creatures? So drawing 2, discarding 3. There's a Trike, and is that another Trike? So he's got Shivan Dragon, Mahamoti Jin, and 2 Triskelions, or perhaps just 1, but even if it's just the 1, it's insane. He's going to get huge creatures back. There's the attack for 4. It looks like Ron has a response to this. There's a Shatter. He is going to take a damage from his city. But obviously the Suchi will be coming back, but it is saving Ron 3 points of damage. So he's going to be on 16. It is a bit, you know, the perfect scenario for Anis here would be if he's got a balance in hand. And I think the Lion also comes back. Look at the creatures. This is insane. 2 Triskelions. And we have a Shivan. And we have the Papamoti. I mean, that's just insane. Papamoti hitting the board. One of my favorite cards. I don't understand why the Savannah Alliance is not coming back, by the way. It should be coming back. Maybe someone will point that out to Anis. Or perhaps I'm missing something. But to my knowledge, the Savannah Alliance should be returning to the battlefield. But it's looking so good here for Ron. Look at that. Remember, this is the decisive game. There's a regrowth to make matters worse, so he can regrowth the Ancestral, play the Ancestral. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, this is so bad for Anis, but it is a beautiful, beautiful thing to see, to really see this Reanimator deck working, going full on here. Mamoti, Shivan, 2 Triskelions, and that single poor Suchi there. No Time Walk found. Even if he has a Time Walk, of course, he cannot cast it. Doesn't have the land for it at the moment. Let's see if Anis can do anything back. There's a Swords to Plowshares on the Shivan. So 5 life gained here for Ron. So he's going to go up to 19.
Okay.
Untapping here, drawing for turn. Right? Okay. I mean, maybe he can find another Swords. Okay, another Swords. This is not too bad. So 5 more life here gained for Ron. So he's really going to go up and up and up. But who cares? For Anis, it's now really survival mode. And I said this in, was it game 1 or game 2? I mean, Swords is so good, right? Because it exiles the creature. So even if Ron has an All Hallows Eve, those Shivans and Mamotis are not coming back. There's an attack for 4. Ooh, that's aggressive. Does that mean he's got a Time Walk, perhaps? Taking an extra turn. Offering a trade here for Ron. I mean, he could take the trade, or he could just take the damage. So the attack here for 4, that would mean he would drop to 20. I mean, he would drop to 20, right? I mean, that's your starting life total. That's exactly what he does, dropping to 20. Are we now going to see a Time Walk here? No, just a pass. I was kind of expecting a Time Walk. There's the attack. Tapping 3 here. There's a Psionic Blast on one of the Trikes. So 3 damage here on the life total of Anis, so he would drop to 17. And then take 4 more. And of course 2 more from the Psyblast, so on 15. And take 4 from the Trike, he would end up on 11. It's quite a lot of damage here for him. Let's see what else Ron can do, perhaps casting an Animate Dead on that Triskelion there in the graveyard. Because he's got 2 lands in hand there. Tapping. Yep. Bringing the Trike back. And now he can... I mean, one of the lines of play that he could have done is put, the 3 damage on the Suchi instead. Animate the Suchi is animating now and just only put 1 counter on it to kill the Suchi. And we here see that Anis is really in aggro mode. So despite the fact that he's on 11, he's just like, I'm just going to keep attacking. There is the Swords on the Trike. So now the Trike can kill itself and deal 2 points of damage to the life total of Anis, putting him on 9. And I believe that's what's going to happen, right? Yeah, so Anis dropping here to 9. And that's a good thing about the Trike. The Trike can kill itself. There we see another animate, so he can animate it again. He's probably going to attack first, exactly. And then he's got the game. He's got the game. Anis on 5. Put the Trike back. Kill him. He's got the game. Well played here, but I really think this game 3 was decided when he found that Bazaar of Baghdad with that All Hallows Eve, and he had to draw with the Bazaar of Baghdad where he found those 2 big creatures from the top, Mamoti and Shivan, straight into the bin, right? And then the Trike was added, another Trike was added. It was just really insane, and there you could really see the power of Bazaar of Baghdad and All Hallows Eve. It's so powerful. But yeah, this is the semifinals, or was the semifinals, I should say, of the Hill Giant Cup. Thank you very much, Ron and Anit, for showing your skills here on the channel. What a beautiful, beautiful match. And please don't forget to join us again next week, because then we have the finals of the Hill Giant Cup. So next week we have that finals for you, and if you don't want to miss that, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring that bell. And if you're already a subscriber, thank you so much. Please take a moment to like, share, and comment on this video. All these things are free and really help the channel move forward. And then there's one more thing that you can do, and that is become a patron of the show. That way you can support the show financially and help me to continue creating old school Magic content for you. So if you enjoy what I do, please take a moment to check out my Patreon page, patreon.com/TimmyTalks, and you can already support the channel for just $1 a month. And for that dollar, you do get some nice perks. You can play in the Timmy Talks online events. You can also get access to the Timmy Talks Discord page. And, well, is that a page actually? Well, anyway, you get access to the Timmy Talks Discord. And also, your name will be mentioned in the end scroll at the end of every single video, including this one. Let's go to the end scroll.
What shall we do with the drunken sailor? What shall we do with the drunken sailor? What shall we do with the drunken sailor? Early in the morning, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises. Early in the morning, putting in the longboat until he's sober, putting in the longboat until he's sober, putting in the longboat until he's sober. Early in the morning, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises. Early in the morning, pull out the plug and wet him all over, pull out the plug and wet him all over, pull out the plug and wet him all over. Early in the morning, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises. Early in the morning. What shall we do with the drunken sailor? What shall we do with the drunken sailor? Put him in the scoundrel to the husband, son, he'll put him in the scoundrel to the husband, son, he'll put him in the scoundrel to the husband, son, he'll early in the morning. Way hey up she rises, way hey up she rises, way hey up she rises. Early in the morning.
Igitus figitus sumba kazee.